think that this time of year we're all in the same boat. We're trying to acquire players that we feel like can help us next year. I mean, it's such a fluid process with players and coaches. Every year is a new year, and I do think that the guys that we have back, hopefully mixed with the new players and the players that we're going to acquire in the draft, I think that'll help us. And that's why John and I meet. That's why we talk. That's why our players evaluate coaches is to find the right guys for us in the player acquisition process.
Obviously, you signed a couple of Patriot players. First is the Malcolm. Obviously, he didn't play in the Super Bowl. Were there any concerns there? Did you have to talk to him about that?
Sure. I mean, we talked about character, and we talked about him as a person, him as a teammate. But there's decisions that coaches make and people make for their team. That was a Patriot decision, and Malcolm's he's a Titan now.
Did you have to find out what that was about, or were you satisfied in talking to him?
I didn't ask Bill why he didn't play him. I don't know if anybody else knows why he did or didn't play other than the head coach. I don't know. I didn't ask Bill. That wasn't something we went through. We felt like we knew Malcolm well enough, and the people that we trusted, that we talked to, about his character, about his work ethic, about the type of teammate that he was, that we're excited to have him.
When you think about this weekend in the last 3 years practicing together, playing against him, what are some of the qualities that attracted you most?
We look for competitive, smart, instinctive players that are great teammates that put themselves in front of the team. So hopefully everybody that we bring into our building, whether they be a coach, a player, trainer, equipment room manager, strength coach, they have those type of qualities and characteristics.
How close do you think you came to landing and not pursuing, and how disappointing it was?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think that we, from our conversations with John, I think that we made a pitch for him and didn't get him. And then when you don't get him, then kind of go on to the next process or plan of, who else you think you might need at that position or who else you might want. And so that's what John and I'll do and continue to do every day.
A guy like that, and any player really pursue the guys to bring in. What are you trying to sell them on?
I don't try to sell them on anything. I think that the thing about college is you try to sell and recruit. I think NFL, you kind of draft and you pay them. And I guess we didn't do a good enough job recruiting them.
You see a big need there, or was it kind of a bonus?
I like the guy. I love the guys we have. Watch Jarrell Casey. I'm excited to have Daquan back. And then Austin Johnson, we feel like is a young player that's ready to play more than what he kind of has. I mean, it's just that's the maturation process. Is you draft him and get him ready, and hopefully he's ready to take that next step in his career. And we'll see here in a few weeks if we can help him do that.
I'd like Dion. Makes him a good fit for the team.
Again, I feel like he's a player that's willing to put the team first. There's only one football. They don't let you play with more than one football. And played with a Hall of Fame quarterback and probably a Hall of Fame tight end. There were other runners on that team. Looked like he kind of tried to do his job when they gave him the ball or they threw it to him, or I never heard him complain. There's other guys that in the running back room or other guys that played running back. So I think that was exciting. There's someone that can play that position, that cared about the team, that maybe didn't have to be the focal back and get 250 touches a year.
You like how him and Derek will complement each other?
I think we all have hopes and visions of what that might look like. But I think until they get back or they come in our building, or we start to actually practice and line up, I don't think we'll really know, but certainly excited about Derek. Can't wait to see him come back. And then Dion kind of incorporating himself into our team.
What's the early thinking on the Derek and Dion combo?
I don't really know, Paul. I think that in my mind, we've got a big running back. We've got a big first and second down back. Dion provides a different body type, a different playing style. So how those two will complement each other, I'm not really sure. But I know that one's got a certain skill set and another body type, and one's, a little smaller, probably a little quicker, that has a different running style. So that may change every week. One guy may get 20 carries one week because of the defense that we're facing, and one guy may get 25 carries or whatever it may be. But, again, I think Derek is a young player that we're excited to give the opportunity to, just like when you watch the Kansas City game.
Did you talk to Derek about the move, before the move?
John may have. I did not. I shared a text with Derek about, hey, how are you? How are things going? Want to introduce myself, give me a call, just to kind of get to know him a little bit. But as far as gauging his interest on bringing in a free agent, I didn't personally check with him.
Hey, Mike, when you got hired, a number of coaches around the league were really surprised that you got the opportunity.
I've heard that. I'm curious. Yeah, I don't know.
What's your response?
Not much. Not much.
In the timeline.
I try to do the best job in the job that I had, whether that was at Ohio State. I didn't think I'd go to Houston. So I'm sure that people were surprised that I went to Houston after being at Ohio State. Didn't think I'd be a head coach, but did the best job I could in Houston. I've had a lot of great mentors. One thing they told me is that you're a lot better coach coming in than you are leaving. It's just how it goes, Someday Bill's going to leave New England, and somebody's going to have something bad to say about him. That's just how it goes. I don't know what to tell you.
Like, speaking of Bill, are there things that you will take away from your experience while you're on that you were mindful of keep carrying over as a coach? Maybe some things that...
Obviously. I think that any person with any type of, sense about trying to improve what they do, whether that's in your job or my job, you try to take things away from good people, right? If you sit and you listen to somebody and you feel like the stuff that they do can help you, you try to take that. And that may not be that person's style, but you try to make it your own. And there's concepts, or somebody has a vision, or they have an opinion about something. I think you try to use everything you can and people you come in contact with. We come in contact with so many great people in this league, and through maybe NCAA, that I've been blessed to be coached by and coached for really good coaches. So I will try to take something from every one of those guys. I think that we'll try to have a message. Here's one thing I felt as a player. It's going to be hard for me to talk for an hour and not repeat myself, because if I don't, I'm probably going to go in a direction that I'd rather it not go. So as a player, I tried to say, keep it to not as quick as possible, but to the point, like being, concise with the message. And whether that be 3 or 4 minutes, I felt like I always had a great relationship with the people that covered our game and our team. But I didn't want to be a guy that was just standing up there for 15 or 20 minutes with a State of the Union address. So that would be my point to the players, that unless you're very skilled and media savvy, sometimes the longer you talk, you may say some things that you regret, not about the team or anything, but just, I wish I wouldn't have said it like that. So, I think that if they could just be concise, they have a message, make it be about the team, I think that's very important. I think social media, like my kids tweet, they got Instagram, my wife tweets, like I used to have it, I still have it. The players do. That's like that's where we're at. But those messages hopefully can be about the team, can be about the success that we're having, about a charitable endeavor that may be important to them, to try to bring positive attention to us, our city, and their teammates.
How much are you looking forward to April 9th and getting the team?
Coaching football.
Yeah.
Talking about football, and just that's why I do what I do. I don't do it to hang out with other assistant coaches. I could do that and retire and go see other guys and kind of hang out, but I enjoy trying to develop a player. After winning a championship, which clearly everybody wants to do at this level or any level, my number one reason for coaching is to try to make players better, because somebody made me better, somebody improved me. We thought after the evaluation process that Blaine was somebody that had the skills necessary physically. Thought he was a little younger, like his mobility, so we're excited to work with him.
How important, I mean, Marcus hasn't played complete season. Do you expect you're going to have to rely on playing at some point?
If you use the metrics, the analytics, I mean, clearly that would say that you probably are going to have to use a backup quarterback. Nobody would like to use a backup quarterback. Everybody'd like the quarterback to play 20 games and be in the Super Bowl, but we got to get everybody ready to be able to go in a game and execute at a high level.
You feel like you know Marcus better now? I mean, are you able to talk to him much, other than checking in with him?
I would say that I talk to him as much as the rules will permit.
Yeah. What do you know about him now that you know he got the job?
I think he's a great person. I mentioned this before, but he's got a great just personality. He cares about his teammates. From everything that I've seen, I think he had those receivers out to California where he was training. They visited with him. They worked. And by all accounts, that was a positive experience for those guys and Marcus.
How do you feel about the coaches that these guys have during their 3.5 months? Do you communicate with them at all? Do you trust guys to be with the right people? Or do you feel a little bit like, I don't know what's going on?
I think all of those, Paul. I think it's a valid and very important topic to talk about. The rules pretty much force these guys to all go and have a guy, and they all like that. They have a relationship. They wouldn't pick these people, whether it be a trainer or a coach or whatever it may be, if they didn't like them, right? So the player's comfortable. It's just important to me that whatever they're doing, we're able to pick back up when they start April 9th. Like, I don't want to have Marcus work for 6 weeks somewhere and come back and now go back at week 1 with whatever we're teaching, and he, as opposed to starting week 7 in whatever program he's in. So I think that if it's important for us to try to kind of have some similarities in what we're teaching and hopefully what they're teaching, whether that be in the weight room or whether that be in the skill development of the player.
Are you sure that you talk to them, or you count on your players?
No, I think that there's communication with those coaches. I think say, hey, what do you guys believe in? Here's what we believe in. This is how we feel like you may teach this, and hopefully those align, because it's important to the player. The player is the most important part of our business. And they like it. They're comfortable with the people that they see. They pay them a fee to coach them, to train them, so that they're ready for our off-season program. And so I want to make sure that, again, we're not just kind of starting over, that we're continuing the work that they've put in, because they're all working. They're professional athletes. So it's not like there used to be a day where they drank beer and they smoked and they went to training camp and they work that. These guys they're professional athletes, and it's a competitive business. They do this year round. So if they can't do it with us, or they don't choose to do it with us, that's fine. But I know that they're doing something, so that's important.
What's the process of building a player? Where do you stand on that? What are those meetings like? Talk me through how you do it.
Yeah. Well, defensively, Dean and I have sat down with the staff and kind of go through things that he's done and I've done and what the coaches have done and they like. And you start just like you would game planning for an opponent. You start first, second down. Hey, how'd you do this? What problems did you have? Okay. And that was a nice thing. Dean came from his system and where he's been and the kind of things that he believes in. There were things that we did in Houston, things that Kerry Combs did at Ohio State and that Terrell Williams did prior to coming and joining us. So it's an open line of communication with all the defensive coaches. Then I pop in and I'll see Matt and his crew and Keith talk about the run game. And I don't know many offensive plays, but I know concepts clearly because I've tried to defend all these different offenses. And they do the same thing. They start and they work on a run game. They talk about the runs, and then they work on pass concepts. And if somebody put it into a system, and hopefully by the time our players come back, that's cleaned up, that's formulated, and it's easy to teach from.
What percent done are you?
I would say hopefully by the time I get back, we're putting the finishing touches on it. And then the same thing with special teams.
Mike, I asked the version of this question that you were talking. How do you guys justify giving Malcolm Butler the contract that you did after you mentioned this?
The one thing I don't do is I don't deal, I've told Paul this, I don't deal with the numbers or the contracts. I evaluate players and I find out guys that will, that can help our team. And I think that you try to bring as many guys that you believe in that can help your team and that are great teammates and are competitive. And the one thing we always did as a player, and all the best teammates that I ever had, once you had a contract, that really didn't mean much when you came into the locker room. Everybody kind of made the same in our eyes, and that you proved your worth on the field. And I felt like that was always a good message that an older player shared with me when I was playing. And I'll try to share with our players, like, you leave contracts out of the locker room, and you let your play and your passion speak for itself.
Like Kevin Panfield, and how does he fit in?
We talked about Kevin, our new offensive guard.
Right, that's right.
Gotcha. Met with Kevin and enjoyed our conversation and our meeting. Felt like he was a guy that has had some playing experience and has started games in the National Football League. And so we feel like the thing I talked to Kevin is there's an opportunity. There's an opportunity at his position. If he was a left tackle, and I'd say, well, probably not going to start for us, Kevin. But he's got a chance to start for us like a lot of other guys at that position.
What are the spots you think you could start at?
And we like his versatility inside. He's going to provide competition to the guard spots, and certainly center. He can snap the ball. So anytime you're versatile, Paul, that gives you a chance. Like, you got face for radio, but you write and you go on a radio. So that's two things that you can do, and maybe somebody else can just write, or maybe somebody else can just be on the radio. Kevin's one of those guys that can maybe do more than one job. So when you get down to it and you're building a roster, you're like, okay, this guy can do two jobs, this guy can do one, or this guy can do three. We need the guy that can do three because you only have so many roster spots, especially come Sunday.
You can wind up drafting anybody, but do you feel like your offensive line is pretty well stocked at this point?
Well, we're always looking to add good players, and with that position, a lot of those times those players aren't finished projects. They're not finished, and they need time to develop. Some of these kids, just like my son, they'll go to college and they may not be, ready to play in college until they're, 3 years in. No different than the NFL. So, that's a position where you can kind of get a guy and develop him, and you see a big swing in years 3 and 4 where these guys are playing offensive line and they're fully grown. They're 24, 25, 26 years old, just like me. I didn't start a game for 4 years and then got an opportunity in New England.
What do you want that group, your O-line, to be known for? People talk about
I want them to protect our quarterback. I want them to play together as a unit. I want them to, when people watch them play, they talk about them being playing better as a unit than maybe they do individually. I think it's hard for offensive linemen to get a lot of recognition, but I do know that when those guys are playing as a unit and they're smoking it off the ball, and they're playing physical and they're protecting a quarterback, good things can happen.
you like a little line? I mean, just what you know.
Sure, Taylor's got a great personality. He's got a great work ethic. He's driven. He's driven to be, one of the great players at that position. He has the ability to do that. But like all players and all coaches, we can improve on what we did last year. Well, I think you look at what Deion was able to do in his career, and he's always been a guy that never had a problem sharing the ball. There's only one football, and there's a quarterback, and there's 5 eligible receivers. So I think everybody understands that they're not going to get the football every single time. And Deion, has been with other runners at other places that he's been. So we're hopeful and confident that will continue in Tennessee.
What do you say to the woman in Dubuque, Iowa, she's questioning whether her son should play football?
I would say that the things that we try to do every day to improve the safety of our game is important to us because we have played this game. We have sons that have played this game, and they'll have grandkids that'll play this game. We're going to try to teach the proper techniques so that funnels down to the college level, to the high school level, and to the youth level. They look at us for advice. We need to show our players respect, and they need to show each other respect so that players understand that this game is far greater than something that they can gain, but it's something that they can give to the next group of players coming behind them. I learned that, and I probably didn't have that mentality before I started playing professionally. But you join a union and you watch guys that came before you and the sacrifices that they made. Hopefully we can to make this game as safe as possible for the players that are coming up behind us.
How many receivers do you think you need? Obviously, it's based on how many you'll be running out there.
Traditionally, you'll keep 5 or 6, and those last 2 spots probably are going to come down to what the player can do on 4th down. So, Matt, if you got a couple good ones, I don't know, you don't need many, but if that 5th guy is a good special teams player, we're not going to play 5 receivers on every snap.
I think that 5th receiver's around now.
We'll find out. April 9th will all determine. We'll start to see and evaluate the players. Hopefully he's there, and hopefully we're able to add competition at every position. I hope we have a bunch of them.
How do you like that group as you know it now?
Well, I think watching the development that Corey had after coming back and the success kind of he had late, hopefully we can build off of that, and he can build off of that. And Rashard clearly exhibits a toughness and a competitiveness on film that is exciting. Taywan is certainly a player that has a great attitude. He's got some speed, and he's got some toughness. He can run with the football. And then Tajay, clearly looking back at where he was 2 years ago and success that he had early in his career, you know, we got to see where he's at. You know, he's been out. He hasn't played. He hasn't been in there. And then, you know, Zach Pascal and Pascal, and, you know, we got to just get and see where we're at with those guys.
Are you fast enough there? Are you fast enough as a team?
You know, team speed is something that's important. You know, I think that there's an ability that you want to try to a balance between speed and size and maybe athleticism. But I think we'd always, you know, look to make sure that we're getting faster at every position to be able to play and compete at this level. But, you know, I watched Richard get a screen pass against Seattle, which is a fast defense, and he either ran by him or threw him and scored a touchdown. So that's encouraging.
What will your training camps look like as far as from a physical nature, how much it's pushing?
You know, there's some numbers about injuries on the first 22 days of training camp that they've reported to us. And, you know, I got to really take a look at those numbers and see why those are so high. And because our players are the most important part of our business. And so if the player's not out there, he can't help you, he can't help your organization, and he can't improve. So I go and I basically write down the schedule every day, and I look at it the next day, and I evaluate it. Is this how we want to have practice? Is this what's right for the player? Everything, there's a lot that goes into it, you know, weather, what the injury report is and looks like. That's how you structure practice. So you just want to make sure that those first 22 days, when they say that the injuries are at the highest rate in training camp, one, why is that, and how can we avoid it?
You base some of that based on your experience with Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, I think you try to take things that you liked as a player or you feel like can help the player, and how do you get the best work in and end up with the healthiest team at the end of training camp.
You consider yourself flexible.
Sure, better be.
Is stubborn dangerous in a football coach?
I think there's things that you pick and choose your spots where you're like, this is non-negotiable. I believe in this, and this isn't where I'm going to stray. But I also believe that it's an important element to be able to be flexible and adaptable and versatile to be able to adjust.
What's something on which you're non-negotiable?
And I think some of the players and some of our people will, you know, see that as long as the player's on time and he's willing to learn in the meeting rooms, those are things I believe in. I'm going to treat our players the same way they treat the team. So if they treat the team with a lot of respect and they care about their teammates, I'm going to treat them with respect and I'm going to care about them. If they don't treat the team very well, if they're late or they don't put the team first, I probably won't treat them very well.
What's the first couple of months for John been like as far as the whirlwind? You kind of settled in, but also doing stuff that you.
It's been exciting. It's been exciting. Every day is different. John and I talk in the morning. John and I talk at lunch. John and I talk at night. Always trying to find ways to improve our team. Excited about our staff. Excited about the coaches that we have. Making sure that they are able to teach, to develop, and inspire their players. I think that's critical. That's what I try to do, and that's what I'll try to continue to do.